This video is about one of the most misunderstood concepts regarding student loans. That is, making prepayments correctly. Many of us are making prepayments on our student loans because we're trying to pay them off early and save money in the long run and also get this debt burden and debt cloud off of our heads. And some of us that are thinking that we're making prepayments actually are not. We are paying ahead, and that's what this video discusses. Specifically here, we illustrate one servicer's language, and we highlight the key points in red. It says that payment is credited first to satisfy any outstanding installments due, and then any additional amount may be applied towards future installments. And then the second piece that we have highlighted in red is you may continue to make payments since interest will accrue on your outstanding principal balance. So in this video, we're going to be using an example to detail exactly what that means. To illustrate paid ahead versus prepayments, we're going to use the following for our example. The loan amount, we assume, is $100,000, and the term is 10 years. The key to understand about the term is that means you're going to have 120 monthly payments. That means that your total monthly payment is $1,153.37. Now, going back real quickly to that definition earlier where it said towards future installments, installments is just a big fancy finance word for monthly payments. So that's all you need to remember. And again, I don't like to use big fancy finance words. However, there is one that you're going to have to know for the next few minutes while we're going through this video, and that is amortization. And amortization and understanding it is important because it applies to any loan that you ever get. And that is a student loan, car loan, home loan, as well as a personal loan. But don't worry, amortization is just simple subtraction. Now remember, in our example, the monthly payment was $1,153.37 every month. Now that payment is split into two, interest and principal. So for example, in the first month, we pay $570 to interest, and $582 is used to reduce the remaining balance. In our example, that loan started at $100,000. So we simply take that, subtract out the principal payment, and the remaining balance is $99,417. Now, the key that you need to understand in this schedule is that every month the remaining balance continues to decrease. And at the same time, the interest payments continue to decrease. And then once the remaining balance is zero, then the loan is over. And guess what? In our loan, we said that it was 10 years or 120 monthly payments. That means that the remaining balance after you make your 120th payment is zero and your loan is over. Now, in this example, that means that over those 10 years with principal and interest, you would pay $138,000. And so that is loan amortization, and that is how a loan works. And that's important because the goal of you prepaying your loan is to get that remaining balance to zero as quickly as possible. So keep that in mind, and let's examine what happens when your servicer classifies your extra monthly payment as being, quote, paid ahead instead of actually being a prepayment. To illustrate how paid ahead works, we're going to use all these same assumptions that we used in the previous example, except for one extra piece. And that is because you've been told that making prepayments will help you save money and you can afford to do so. That's what you want to do. So you've decided to make prepayments of $200. That means that each month you're actually making $1,353.37 in payments. Now, there are two columns that you will need to be aware of that we added to our amortization schedule: the prepayment amount and paid ahead. As you can see, nothing happens to the prepayment column. Instead, your paid ahead column is growing every month. Now, if you compare this to our previous loan amortization schedule, you will notice absolutely nothing is different between the principal payment column and the remaining balance columns. Again, nothing is different between our two examples. So what actually happens, and why do people think they're benefiting from paying ahead? First off, if you were to call your loan servicer because you got your monthly statement and you notice a paid ahead amount and said, I want this to be used to pay down my principal so I can reduce my remaining balance, they'll say it is being applied towards your principal. Well, they're telling the truth. That's not a lie. It's just a major stretch of the truth. You see, at some point in your loan, the paid ahead amount will be greater than the remaining balance. At that point, you'll receive a notice from your servicer saying, congratulations, no payments are due. However, the loan is not over. Instead, each month, your paid ahead amount is used to satisfy your required monthly payment. In our example, that required monthly payment is $1,153 a month. And that is what was referred to back in that disclaimer of the amount will be used to fulfill future installments. As you can also see, that payment is still split between two. You're paying interest because interest is accruing, as the disclaimer told us, and you're also still using it to pay principal. So that person you spoke to on the phone at the loan servicer was right. You are applying your extra payment to principal. It's just being applied at a different time than when you thought it was being applied. So, what is the result of paying ahead? Now remember, your original goal of making prepayments was to reduce the remaining balance column to zero as fast as possible. By paying ahead instead of prepaying, you're still making 120 payments. The cumulative amount that you pay is still $138,000. There is no difference in paying ahead as to if you were just making the required monthly payment every single month. In essence, it's as though you were making no prepayment. Here, we're showing what happens if you're actually making prepayments every month. Each month, the principal payment and the prepayment amount is used to reduce the remaining principal. The effect this has can be seen when we compare it to the original amortization schedule, the one where you make no prepayment. The result is the remaining balance at the end of each month making prepayments is decreased at a faster pace. And our goal, remember, is to get the remaining balance column to zero as quickly as possible. So what is the result of making prepayments? As you can see, the loan would have been paid off in 97 months, which is 8.1 years. Your savings relative to paying ahead would be $8,154. On top of that, that means that you would have 23 payments of $1,153. Remember, that was your required monthly payment that you don't have to make. That means after 10 years, you would have your debt paid off, and have $26,519 that you could have used to do things like fund your retirement, save for a house, so on and so forth, and start building assets instead of simply paying down your debt. So the tricky part is determining what your student loan servicer is doing, because all of them treat it a little bit differently and have different terminology. So for example, there's one student loan servicer out there that actually says you are paying ahead, but they're actually applying it towards principal. They just use the same terminology. There's another student loan servicer out there that actually gives you the option. Do you want to pay ahead or do you want to make prepayments? So the next step that you need to take is determine which one you're doing, paying ahead or prepayments. And we've actually dedicated an entire video to that titled How to Detect if you're prepaying or paying ahead. The next step from there is just to make sure that you're making the prepayments in the correct way. So if you're confused, don't worry about it. We know that finance and these topics can be overwhelming. If you'd like us to look at your personal situation, we're more than happy to do so. You can email us at info@fitbucks.com. And if you're looking for more videos and more help just on the internet, you can always visit our website at fitbucks.com.